dude, check that. Let's see. There we go. And yeah, so basically this live stream is mostly a combined video too, so well, everything's in perfect working order. And today is finally the time I can finally like get this out of the way before I forget. Yeah. So let's see. I'm probably gonna need a fresh one for this. Not sponsored. Oh, I didn't make an announcement on what that I'd be going live on YouTube. So give me 1 sec, guys. I gotta put my mouth in some more and punch later. Alright. Yeah, because this is going to be a live stream and a video combined into one, so that way I can get them out of the way. So let's get the intro. Hello, everybody who is currently probably watching this either as a video or just came to a stream. This is basically my full story explained. Yeah, my full story explained of Chernobyl Diaries. Now, I watched 2 certain videos, like when I tried to find like a story explained for well, YouTubers who reviewed or watched the movie, which is Lady White Rabbit and well, Ram Horaf for Life. They didn't explain the plot well, or they just only complain about the movie, or just, well, basically did both, so to speak. So I decided to, well, yeah, and if you heard that background, that's just a preview of where I left off from the video. And I might actually tell them, hey, I made this stream/video of me explaining Chernobyl Diaries. So that way I can get this out of the way before I forget. So I will be diving into the story, and hopefully I can see if, like, I can be good at explaining the story a bit, or like if this is indeed a good movie. So I'm gonna jump right in. So this, of course, is massive spoilers. If you're watching this as a video or just came on my stream now, just a little reminder, there will be spoilers for Chernobyl Diaries. But if you don't know the Chernobyl incident, since this is a fictional what if after the Chernobyl incident, let me fill you in. On April 26th of 1986, Chernobyl reactor number 4 explodes, and it sends the radiation into the atmosphere, becoming one with the air, which is 1,000 times greater than the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. And it was raised to a level 7, and there were 50,000 people that were living in the city of Pripyat, which is miles across of the power plant of Chernobyl. And when they were given false promise that they would return home after they evacuate the city, which was a lie to cover up the lie for them to not like cause any panics. So, and they weren't given enough time to take all their belongings. Some of their stuff were still left behind to that day. Toys, clothes, anything you can think of were still there to this day. And Chernobyl, basically the city of Pripyat, has made a ton of appearances in games, and of course none of them have ever got a movie or a TV series. Like the movie in 2012 was Chernobyl Diaries, and I think when Max got its new name, they decided to do a TV series based off the real life incident of what happened at the city of Pripyat and the power plant of Chernobyl. But this video ain't talking about the TV show. We're talking about the movie Chernobyl Diaries, because the plot is very interesting, and if you don't know the plot, I'll fill you in before we start the full story explain. A group of extreme tour guides with a group of teenagers decide to explore the abandoned city of Pripyat, and when they get stranded, they find out that they're not alone, and the city isn't as abandoned as they were led to believe. So, as I said, there is going to be massive spoilers in this. If you don't want to be spoiled of the movie Chernobyl Diaries, go watch it. It's just on Max, or you can buy it from YouTube. So, with that out of the way, Here is the full story of Chernobyl Diaries. I will be taking like deep breaths as I explain the story, so that way I don't like hurt my throat. So, oh boy, here we go. The movie starts with a traveling montage of Chris, his girlfriend Natalie, and their friend Amanda traveling all across the world to visit Chris's brother Paul, who lives in Russia, Ukraine. And Paul is, of course, like watching this on the tablet when they got there. Paul is, well, laughing, telling them that they're crazy, and, well, he still is glad that Chris is paying him a visit along with his girlfriend and friend. And when night falls, we see them like catching up and having a nice drink. And of course, Paul asks the question if he has a chance to like date Amanda. Now, we actually have a backstory with Amanda, is that she had a recent breakup with her ex-boyfriend, and it took Chris and Natalie weeks to get Amanda to like to get on the plane. And my guess is that it wasn't very like easy to get her on the plane to travel around the world, get her mind off her ex-boyfriend. That's just my guess. So Paul, of course, drops this for now, and he asks Chris how he and Natalie's relationship is, and Paul smiles, thinking that Chris is gonna pull a prank, but he's not. He actually Chris pulls out a ring from his coat to show off a wedding ring, because when they go to Moscow, Chris is planning to propose to Natalie. Yep. Honestly, when you've been in a relationship long, you want to surprise her with a very good engagement ring. Chris is doing a great job. Paul is, of course, happy for his brother, and they decided to go celebrate at the bar a couple hours later into the night. They're walking home, and Paul and Amanda have a chat, and of course, Chris is still like protective of Amanda because he knows Paul's reckless behavior. So Paul is basically, as I said, reckless. He's I wouldn't say bad seed, but basically I would say he's the troublemaker of the family, and he causes trouble for his family, whereas Chris, he's the more responsible one and tries not to get into anything dangerous or anything that will lead him into trouble. So, yeah, I think Chris is the smart one in their family. Chris, of course, is glad to see Paul, and Paul says he misses him, and Chris also misses him too, and Chris points out that, yeah, I almost said Paul's. Chris points out that he never talked to his dad when he settled down in Ukraine, but Chris also tells Paul that Mom misses him and that Paul should give her a call. Which, yeah, dude, if you're gonna be away from your family, you should always, like, call your family. I'm serious. Family means everything. As they reach the bottom of the stairs, they're harassed by 3 Russian guys who, I guess, aren't drunk yet. Paul, who speaks Russian since he's lived there a lot longer, learns the language, manages to like defuse the situation, and they continue on back to the apartments Paul lives in. The next morning, we see them in a cafe, and they are basically, well, getting ready to leave to Moscow, but they're waiting for Chris to help them get their food and drink. Of course, Chris tells Amanda he's sorry for how Paul was behaving, and Amanda is, oh, it's fine, I can handle him. I'm a big girl. And yeah, you can see how Chris is very protective of not only his girlfriend from Paul, but also like he's very protective of his friend Amanda. Like he doesn't want her to like basically like end up with the wrong guy again to break her heart, so to say. So let's continue on. So Paul arrives a couple minutes later, and of course, he pulls up a Dennis Nedry from Jurassic Park by taking Chris's drink and taking a drink. Like, dude, come on! You could have ordered yourself a drink. Like, seriously, yes, I have my own drinks, but I at least, like, share, and I ask if I can have a sip. You don't just pull a fucking Dennis Nedry up in this. Oh, cool, man. Here's my advice. Ask for a drink. Okay? Good. So Paul asked them if they heard about the Chernobyl incident, and of course they know about the incident because they know that it's where the nuclear disaster happened. Paul, of course, continues on further, saying he met this guy named Yuri, and he asked them if they ever heard of extreme tourism. Chris, of course, obviously knows what Paul is trying to pull, and he tries to tell Paul that our original plan is to go to Moscow, nothing else. But Paul decides to reason with them by saying they can take photos, they're only going to be there for 30 minutes, and the radiation levels are safe. Which is actually true, because there's actually a real life jobs called extreme tourism, and if you actually sign up at their website, you can actually explore the abandoned place of Chernobyl and what it was like after the disaster. And there's actually videos of it on YouTube right now. Chris is still skeptical, and of course Amanda, it does point out is that, yeah, they're in Ukraine, they might as well get some photos in before they go. So Paul decides to do the old-fashioned way by doing a raise of hands, and of course Amanda and Natalie raise their hand, and Paul just friendly gives in and says, okay, fine, as long as you promise that the tour will be safe. Because you can tell by his body language, like, okay, I'll go with you guys, but you have to promise me that this tour will be safe. And Paul, in his body language, says, yes, it's safe. We're going to be there for 20, 30 minutes, and then we're heading straight for Moscow. So they head to Yuri's extreme tour guide, where we meet the late actor Dmitry Dyachenko, who plays Yuri. Now, Yuri is a tour guide, yes, but judging by the photos and pictures, he used to be a military soldier. He used to be, a soldier, but he used to be in the special forces. And he decided, military is too much for me. I'm just going to do a well-paying job. Which, honestly, I would have done the same. Like, going to cool or abandoned spooky places, that could have been my dream job. Keyword could have been. And we have one joining in as I explain the story. Don't worry, like, if you missed the opening of it, this will also be uploaded on YouTube. Hello there, Dan. Oh, Dan, hey! You're just in time. I was just explaining Chernobyl Diaries, so if you play the stream back a bit, or if you wait until it's uploaded, you can get caught up ahead. So I need to pick up where I left off. But I hope you're doing good. So, take a deep breath here. So, Natalie asks Yuri if the tour is going to be safe and what their plan is. And Yuri says, well, this tour is safe. I've been doing it for 5 years, and this isn't my, first rodeo. So, we meet two other people who is also joining the tour. And it's Michael and Zoe. So, with all the groups together, they head to Yuri's van and drive all the way to the city of Pripyat. But Yuri explains in Russian, he claims that nature has reclaimed its rightful home, which is true, because if you see the photos on Google, or better yet, if you Google Maps Chernobyl Pripyat, you can actually see nature is indeed reclaiming of what was left behind in that city. So, that's pretty interesting, though. Like, when you see the photos, or if you go there yourself, you actually feel bad for the place. So, as they arrive, they headed to a military-style checkpoint, so that way they can get inside the city to start the tour. So Yuri asks him if he can take the tour inside, but of course the Russian military says, no, you can't, because this place is locked under maintenance. Now, Yuri tells this to the group and realizes that the city of Pripyat is closed off and there's maintenance going on. This strikes them confused, especially Yuri. Yuri's also confused by this, because right before he does tours, he usually gets alerted ahead of time about this. So, let me explain what that means. Basically, when they say maintenance, basically means, sorry, this area is closed off due to survey checks. We have to make sure nothing or anybody snuck inside. Because there are some people who sneak inside the city of Pripyat for other things that I'll point out in the story explained. So, Yuri tells them that the place is not gonna let them in. The military boys ain't gonna let them in because there's maintenance going on in the city. And Chris asks if this place is really abandoned, but Yuri tells him it's usually odd for him too, because he's usually been told by this ahead of time. Paul is, of course, a little upset because he paid for the tour. Yuri understands this and decides, you know what, there's an alternate way inside the city of Pripyat. I discovered it years ago. I know he doesn't say that line, but it makes sense to me in his body language when he backs the van up because he knows another way inside the city of Pripyat. Because in the next scene, we actually see them drive by, like, radioactive signs, which actually is the symbol, if you saw, like, the title, like, not only the title card when you saw the end of the movie, but also, like, the radioactive signs in real life. You know that this city, like, part of the city is still covered in, not only covered in radiation, but there are areas in which you cannot explore in that is contaminated of radiation. This movie is nailing it down. Anyway, they arrive at the abandoned checkpoint, and of course, all is reassuring everyone that we're still going to do this, we're not going to be in there for long, and Yuri comes back and tells them that they have the city of Pripyat to themselves. They drive for a bit, and they stop at a bridge to get a glimpse of the city, where Yuri points out that this is the city of the home of the workers and families of Chernobyl. So they continue on, and Yuri stops right near a lake. Not very close to the lake, but like stops the car on the road that's next to the lake. And Yuri tries to show him something, but of course we all know, like, if you saw the movie for the first time, you obviously know what this is going to be. Yuri, of course, like, checks the water, like, see if there's anything. He freaks out for a bit, like something grabbed him. Paul pulls him away and realizes he only pulled a prank with the beef jerky. Jerky, yeah, jerk. That's actually my favorite part of the movie. Like, even though it has scary moments, like, you can't, like, there isn't any shame of adding something funny. So, after, well, that prank, Yuri actually shows them a mutated fish that's hiding in a pile of leaves. Apparently, this radiation did something more than just kill not only the people, but also the wildlife inside Pripyat. Paul goes to touch it to see if it's dead, and of course, it moves for a bit, only for a bit. And they just laugh it off, and they finally go back to the van to actually start the tour in the city of Pripyat. Yuri tells him to stay close to him because he has the Geiger counter to know if the radiation levels are safe or not. So they take a picture in front of the Ferris wheel, which is very iconic, and fun fact, it was actually made both handheld and digitally. Basically, they made the bottom portion of it scratched, but the rest was made digitally, and I think they did a great job, like, trying to capture the Ferris wheel to make it look like the real life one. Good job. As the tour continues, they go inside the apartment, but before they go inside, they see a dead dog inside the, well, not inside the building, but like on the porch entrance of the apartments. So they go past it, and they go upstairs, and of course, Yuri points out the things as they're looking at the stuff that was left behind in the buildings, where Yuri says the people who live in the city of Pripyat were not even given 5 minutes to live a normal life. More specifically, to take their things with them, or just live in the city even longer. Michael tries to take a old style watch that was on the bed, and Yuri says he can't take it, it's contaminated. And people who sneak inside the city of Pripyat takes these left behind items like toys, lamps, anything that's valuable to sell on the black market, and people that did bought them got sick, not knowing they were contaminated of the radiation. So he takes them to the patio, like the window patio, to see the distance of the Chernobyl factory, where he points out that the reactor number 4 was where the disaster happened. Michael asks if anyone's been inside the reactor, and Yuri says no, you can only go inside with radiation suit, only for a short period of time. So he lets him, like, take a couple of pictures, and we actually see Yuri's body language of how he wishes this place wasn't, like, contaminated radiation, how the reactor shouldn't have exploded. Which, honestly, makes you feel bad for the character. Like, he's done this tour in the city, like, 5 years, and you actually feel bad for the guy. Like, you probably also heard of the incident. Even though he probably didn't live in it, he probably heard of it. And he felt bad for the people there. Anyway, let's continue. He sees a pile of ashes getting ready to be burnt up, and he pushes them aside with his foot and tells the guys it's time to go back to the van because it's starting to get dark. Before they head to the van, they hear what sounds to be some items moving on the other side of the building. Yuri and the others try to go see, but Yuri tells them to stay there. Yuri goes to investigate, and of course, a couple of minutes later, we see a radioactive bear charging them, and the group manages to get out of its path. Yuri sees they're okay and tells them we need to go, and they all make their way back to the van, and Paul finally says, does anyone have a story like this? So they reach back to the van, and Yuri jokes that there won't be any charges for bear attacks, which is pretty funny. But also true, like, it's also striking Yuri odd because he's never seen bears in apartments. Like, he's seen animals, like, outside of the apartments, but never inside, which is very odd. Like, that makes you wonder, was this somehow set up? Because this is striking Yuri confused. He doesn't know if animals can find a way inside buildings. Unless they do, let me know. So, of course, before Yuri starts the van, it started to not work. Yuri checks the engine of the van and realizes that the van has been destroyed. More specifically, the wires have been chewed up and the engine can't start without him. Michael points out that he can't get a signal. There's no signal in the abandoned city, and Yuri pulls out the walkie-talkie to try to call for help. Of course, he doesn't get a response, and when night falls, Yuri tries to contact help again, but of course, still doesn't get a response. Now, this is where the first question, like I did in Why I Love Chernobyl Diaries video, explaining this question. It's because, come on, the city's been abandoned. You really think the cell phone reception signal still works there? And the movie even showed Yuri trying to call help with his walkie-talkie, and he still doesn't get an answer. And yes, even though the car broke down, but come on. It's their only way out. What do you expect? Walk them on foot? Actually, don't answer that. Rhetorical question. Don't ever ask. Do not ever answer a rhetorical question. Anyway, let's continue. Of course, Paul tries to reassure everyone it's fine and they should relax and they'll be out. And Paul's brother Chris decides to tell him how he feels by saying, "Don't tell me to relax. This is all your fault. This is the last time I'm listening to your dumb ideas." Of course, Amanda defuses the situation before he gets worse and asks Yuri if he knows anyone from the tour guide agency if they know they're there. To which Yuri responds, he works alone. Paul is of course a little upset and now they're stranded. Asks Yuri what their plan is. Yuri's plan is, of course, they stay in the van and try to, fix the van and they can drive out of there. If not, they'll probably have to walk to the nearest checkpoint. Chris is a little shocked about this, but, of course, Michael says they'll just hike to the checkpoint. He asks Yuri how far it is, and he says it's 20 kilometers, which is basically 13 miles from their current location. Michael, of course, suggests that they should hike to the nearest checkpoint, but Yuri says no, not in the middle of the night. It's not safe to travel at night. So before they can come up with any plan, they start to hear strange noises coming from outside. And this is where shit hits the fan. Now they're starting to realize they may not be alone as they thought they would. Amanda thinks it's the sound of a baby, but when Paul asks what that sound is, Yuri says it's not baby. He goes in the glove box and pulls out a pistol. Of course, Chris is skeptical and asks Yuri what's with the gun, and Yuri asks him if he has a problem, and Chris says, "Yeah, I have a problem. What's with the gun?" But Chris, didn't Paul tell you that Yuri already answered your question about him being a military guy? He's ex-military. You did not expect him to bring a gun? I mean, come on. You should be glad he has it with him. Otherwise, you all would have been dead by something that's making that strange noise. Yuri goes out to investigate with the gun and flashlight and with his walkie-talkie to try and see if he can still contact for help. Of course, Chris decides to follow Yuri, and Paul tries to go with him, but Chris tells him to stay in the van to think about how he can mess things up even further and how he's a hazard to even, not only to be around, but how he's a terrible excuse for a brother. More specifically, how he's a hazard to have a brother like him. And oof, that hurts him hard. So Yuri and Chris continue to investigate by going around the corner, and a couple of seconds of silence, well, basically a couple of minutes after silence, the gunshots go off. 3 gunshots, to be precise. Paul, of course, goes to find Chris and Yuri, and he only comes back a couple of minutes later, showing Chris with a broken leg. Yikes. Whatever attacked Chris and Yuri did more damage than we thought. Of course, now he starts working on, stopping the bleeding and, of course, wrapping it up, when Paul asks Chris where Yuri is, and Chris obviously says they got him, they flipping got him. Hey, Ashton. Thank you for coming to the stream of me explaining diaries. So if you missed much, don't worry, this will be uploaded onto YouTube, so you didn't miss much. Of course, as well, they're patching Chris's leg, the van is attacked by radioactive German shepherds that are trying to get inside to have like a little tasty snack. Of course, they can't get in, and they decide to retreat for now, and as they left, the dogs, of course, as the dogs left, the van's car battery dies. And they have to use a phone's flashlight to continue patching Chris's broken leg, and when they hear something like approach their car, they dim the light and continue working in the dark. I'm making a go anime video, by the way. Oh, that's actually pretty cool. Can't wait to see what it is. So the next morning arrives, and the wound has been fully patched on Chris's leg, but he can't move anywhere. If he tries to move, it'll only make it worse. Michael suggests that if he had another spare wire, he can fix the van and they can use it to kickstart it, and, well, they can use it to get out. And as Michael's looking through the toolbox, he finds another walkie-talkie. So Paul uses the other walkie to try and contact, well, Yuri. And when Yuri doesn't respond, Paul tries again and still doesn't get an answer from him. Michael suggests they go out and look for him since he's the only one that knows the city of Pripyat. Yeah, because that's true, because you're going to need the guy that knows the city. Amanda volunteers along with Paul to go find him while Amanda tells Natalie they'll be back and to stay with Zoe and Chris so they can, keep an eye on him and make sure he's safe. Michael reassures Zoe they'll be back, and they go sail to find Yuri, and they go around the corner where Chris and Yuri were last seen, like when they went to investigate the strange noise. Paul uses the walkie-talkie, and this actually might shock you or ask me, did they find the trail of blood? No, actually, when Paul uses the walkie, he hears Yuri's walkie, and when they follow the sound, they find Yuri's walkie on the steps of the building. Well, the stairs that lead to the bottom portion of the kitchen building. Basically, whatever attacked Chris and Yuri took Yuri inside the building. Amanda suggests they head back to the van, but Michael suggests no, we can't leave him. He has the gun, and he's the only one that knows the city like the back of his hand, and we need him. And as I say again, if you're going to be stranded, you're going to need someone that knows the place like the back of their hands. And that's saying something. They go inside the building, and they find a trail of blood, and they follow it. And as they follow it, they get jump scared by something moving in the water, which, to be honest, actually got me too when I watched it again last year. They follow the trail of blood to the kitchen, and they find Yuri's leg, and they think he's alive, but when they go around the corner, he's dead. Yeah, but at least he basically risked his life to save Chris. So rest in peace, Yuri. Now, fun fact, Yuri was actually supposed to survive the events of Chernobyl Diaries, but since we didn't get a post-credits scene, that idea was scrapped entirely, so Yuri's dead. He ain't alive. They check Yuri's body as something is coming towards them. They only found the clip of his gun and the Geiger counter. Paul and Michael head to the door while Amanda basically hides. And actually, I think Amanda's smart with this one. You're going to see why. Well, you're going to know why. Amanda quietly crawls to try to meet up with Michael and Paul, but of course halfway she finds the gun underneath the, kitchen supply table. As she reaches it, she accidentally makes a noise, but she successfully grabs it and makes her way back to Paul and the others. Well, back to Paul and Michael. The thing that Amanda alerted to chases them and of course tries to open the door, but Michael holds it in, and as Paul tries to shoot, the gun is empty. I guess Yuri fired the remaining shots as he was being dragged inside the building. But luckily, with the clip they've managed to find, Paul manages to reload the gun and shoots the door. Yep. He shoots the door 3 times, basically shooting whatever it was that was chasing them before. They manage to escape the building and make it back to the van and bring the bad news to Amanda, to Natalie, Zoe, and Chris that Yuri is dead, and they only found what was left of him. Chris suggests they try to help him walk, but of course, as they said his foot, it's still in bad condition. And even if he tries to move it, he's just making it worse. Chris tells Paul and the others that they have to leave him and Natalie to go find help. Paul is reluctant, but Chris tells him it will take 2 people to carry him and it's going to be twice as long. You live here, Paul. You're the only one that speaks the language. Paul reluctantly agrees with the plan, but gives him the walkie-talkie to keep in touch and give them the gun in case, well, whatever it is that was chasing them in the kitchen either comes to them or to themselves, but I'm sure they can defend themselves. Paul promises his brother Chris that he'll bring them home, and they make their way to the checkpoint to go get help. But on the way, their path is blocked by radioactive German shepherds that we saw earlier. If you watch the movie, of course. They take the long way, and as they're taking the long way, the Geiger counter goes off, realizing that the radiation is starting to spread. Basically, the radiation is coming towards them, and it's almost arriving. They arrive at the abandoned parking lot of Pripyat, where the cars used to be, and they search the cars to try and find the replacement wires for Yuri's van. Of course, they find the bus. Paul and Amanda go inside to investigate and realize that whoever was there last time was shooting something from the inside of the bus. They investigate further, and after avoiding the bus debris that was on top of Paul, they find the flashlight and the broken AK-47, and of course, found a piece of a uniform with blood on it. My guess is that whoever was there before them actually encountered one of these things. Paul and Amanda get out of the bus and meet up with Zoe and Michael as they found the replacement wires to fix Yuri's van. Paul shares this news with Chris and Natalie, and they're on their way back to fix the van, but as they're on their way back, they're being chased by the same radioactive dogs that we saw blocking their path. They make a run for it, and they get across a makeshift bridge to try and avoid the dogs as possible. Zoe falls in, and Michael saves her, but not before he gets bitten by the radioactive fish that we saw right before, they were abandoned in the city. More specifically, right before they started the tour in Pripyat. As night falls, they continue to make their way back to the van. Michael asks Paul if this place really is abandoned, but Paul does tell him, yes, it is abandoned, it's just stories, this place is really abandoned. But Michael points this out by saying maybe the radiation didn't kill everything. And as they're having this conversation, and how Amanda points out that wherever she took in the photo, that something was there with them before they went inside the apartments. And if you see in the movie, you see a person walking in the background as they talk, and we hear a strange sound. They continue back to the van and realize the van isn't there anymore. Until, of course, they spot debris of the seat from Yuri's van and follow the trail, and they find Yuri's van attacked and flipped upside down. Jeez, whoever these things are, they're sure pretty strong. They investigate the flipped upside down destroyed van until they realize Chris and Allie are no longer inside the van. Paul, of course, tries to call for Chris, but doesn't get a response as Michael shushes him, telling him we can't stay here, and whatever it is that is out here will just be drawing their attention to us. Zoe finds a phone, and we actually get some found footage, well, not only answer, but also some action. Chris, being close to, death's door, decides to propose to Natalie here and now. Natalie, of course, stops him by saying, no, we can wait till Moscow and you can propose to me there. But, of course, before their conversation continues, they hear something coming outside, and Chris thinks it's Paul, but it's not. Apparently, it's those mutated people that attacked the van by flipping it upside down and taking Natalie and Chris somewhere. Sorry, I'm taking a deep breath for this. Okay. Paul is devastated that the things probably took Chris and Natalie somewhere and probably killed them off. But he hears his brother screams and goes to follow the sound. Michael is skeptical of going after them and just go find help, but Amanda pleadingly asks Michael to help them find them. Michael reluctantly agrees. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Michael agrees along with Zoe, and Amanda, Michael, and Zoe go after Paul to find Natalie and Chris. When they arrive to one of the abandoned buildings, not apartments, buildings, they find what seems to be a piece of blood on the door. They investigate the building to try and find Chris and Natalie, but nothing, as Paul tells them he heard his brother scream. He heard him. But as they go to leave, something throws right across from them, and as they look, they see what appears to be a zombie-like person. They scream, of course, and run, and then they bump into Natalie, and she is shocked. My guess is that she's shocked that Chris has died right in front of her. As they escape the building, Michael finds a map, and Paul is trying to ask Natalie where Chris is, but of course, course, Natalie isn't saying anything because she's still traumatized of what happened. So Michael and Zoe look at the map they found inside the building and realize the checkpoint is actually a little closer to their location of where they are. Paul says he's not leaving until he finds his brother, and Zoe tells him we don't know if he's alive. Paul waves the gun pointing at him saying, "Don't you say that, he is alive." Michael takes the gun from him and tells him, "Look, I'm sorry about your brother, but we can't do anything on our own. We need help." So Amanda tells Paul that they promise once they get help, we'll find Chris. So they continue their way to get to the checkpoint to find help, but of course the radiation is getting worse as evidenced by the Geiger counter going off once more. Of course, if you've seen the trailer, you know what comes next. As they're looking at the map to find a way to get to the checkpoint and Natalie's resting right next to the stairs, they turn their attention to the girl. Yeah, the girl that's holding a bear with a gas mask. If you've seen like the YouTube cover of Chernobyl Diaries on YouTube. Paul, in Russian language, tries to get her attention, but as they draw closer to her, Natalie is, of course, grabbed from the same zombie-like mutant people that were following them and killing them off one by one. They try to find her, and they hear her screams, and they try to follow the sound of the screams. On the way, they find a guy dead hanging upside down. My guess is that this is the guard that was inside the bus and got attacked and probably broke the AK-47. They realized they lost the sound of Natalie's scream until they realized the things are now after them and tried to finish what they started. They continue running. Michael holds them off, and they successfully get through the first set of the shed. They continue on down, and Michael fires the remaining shots and helps them open the metal doors. Michael tries to get in, but of course he's grabbed by those things and gets killed off. Zoe is upset and tries to save him, but of course Amanda stops her, and they continue on to go get help at the checkpoint. They continue on, and they're deeper in, and they keep going. Now the reason why is because, well, Zoe pukes, and you can actually tell you feel bad for her losing her boyfriend. But they manage to continue on, but the flashlight, dies for a while. And by die, I mean, it turns off for a bit. And halfway, it turns back on, and they're halfway deeper through the underground facility, wherever they are. Paul, of course, sees something from the distance, and he sees Chris's engagement ring to Natalie. And when he tries to move the tarp, or the jacket, thinking it's his brother, it's actually a fat mutant baby that jump scares them and chases them. This alerts the other mutant-like zombies to go after them. Paul and Amanda climb the ladder, and Zoe tries to climb up, but of course gets pulled down by the mutants when Paul tries to save her. They continue on, and it still promises Paul once they get to the checkpoint, they're gonna find help to find their friends. So they continue on, and something's wrong with their skin, and something's wrong with Paul's eyesight, like he can't see. And when Amanda checks the Geiger counter, Paul pulls out, they realize they're inside the reactor. They're in the reactor number 4 that exploded on April 26th of 1986. But they still continue on until Amanda finds Natalie, and when she turns her body over, she's dead. All because she was too close to the reactor. She was brought there. That's why she didn't continue to scream. She was taken to the reactor core. Paul apologizes, but tells Amanda we need to go. After Amanda hugs her dead friend goodbye, they, continue to try to leave the factory until they're blocked by 2 mutant zombies and get attacked by the ones behind them. The mutant zombie ones behind them. They manage to fend them off. They manage to get outside the factory, but this is where I'm going to point out the 2 alternate endings. Well, the different endings. The one you get for the DVD version, or if you just got it from YouTube and Max. And there's the one if you have the Blu-ray version of Chernobyl Diaries. So Paul and Amanda make their way outside the factory until they spot, military vehicles' lights turning on, realizing it's the military Russian forces and they're here to save them. Amanda gets down, but Paul keeps on going, and it appears the radiation infected his ears, and now he can't hear anything. He keeps trying to tell them we need help, but of course the military Russians think he's already too close to being turned to one of them, shoots him on sight. Amanda, of course, crawls to his dead body with the blanket, is my guess. We see her on the stretcher, and she's in a lot of pain, and the doctors are trying to help her. She's taken inside the facility when she wakes up a couple of minutes later, and the Russian doctors reveal to us the big secret and the biggest plot twist in any like scary non-found footage movie ever. Is that these mutant zombies were their experiments from the radiation, since these are the people that stay behind in the city. They escaped the day before Paul invited them to the tour with Yuri, and that's why the city was closed off due to maintenance. It's because of the mutant zombies escaped the facility. Since Amanda knows and solves them, puts her in the padded room, well, not padded, a mysterious room, and her fate is, well, shown to us as a horde of mutant zombies that we saw a glimpse of towards the end, grabs her and starts eating her as the shutter closed. Now, that's one of the endings. What about the alternate ending? Well, the alternate ending for, like, Chernobyl Diaries almost plays the exact same. Paul gets shot and Amanda cries on her body, but there's a different ending. As soon as the soldier covers her up, we see her, she's finally at the hospital, but it's already too late for her. As she was too close to the radiation and she's absorbed too much, she turned into one of them, and her fate in the alternate ending is she's now one of them. And that's the full story of Chernobyl Diaries. Whew, that was a lot to unpack, and I'm glad I actually did this through the live stream, but I will have to make an announcement too, and I didn't put it on the title because I just wanted to get this out of the way. My Let's Plays for Need for Speed Carbon, COD 4 Modern Warfare, and Slender the Arrival are going to be on hold for a while. It's mostly because since I record this on my phone, I won't have enough storage, so after this is, like, uploaded, I'm probably gonna figure out a way to still record the final part of Slender the Arrival and to get it onto you guys, because when I tried it, like, I had the Arrival and the bonus chapter Genesis done, but my phone stopped recording halfway as I was doing a special thank you. So I'm just gonna say here in the stream, I just want to thank you guys so much for all the support you have given me, whether it was my Let's Plays, my impressions, or any type of content I made. And I just personally want to thank all of you. And even though you don't watch much of my videos or you just prefer to watch professional YouTubers, that's fine. Just seeing your guys' views, likes, and your opinions is great. So what's my opinion on Chernobyl Diaries? I think it's a good movie. I see what Bradley Parker and Oren Pillay wanted to do with this movie. Try something new, and I think they did a decent job. But if they had enough time for the third act, then I think this would have been perfect and it would have spawned a sequel. And if it does, I can't wait to see it. But if not, then I think one Chernobyl Diaries is good enough for me. But I want to point out a special thank you and shoutouts to all of you who watched, especially Ashton and, of course, Dan. You guys get shoutouts for being amazing YouTubers. And it doesn't matter if you react or just watch my videos, just you guys subscribing to my channel is the best support I've ever gotten. And for my Let's Plays, like, I want to thank you guys for your Let's Plays. And this story explained wasn't inspired by Found Flicks. It was actually from Gaming Harry, who does the Lore Order story on horror games. And, of course, his side project,
Shut up! You can live without us. Be quiet.
What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, for the support you did for my channel. And as I said, my Let's Plays are gonna be on hold for a while, just until I can. It's not to get my life back, but it's just until like I can get my feeling back to record Let's Plays again. So this, of course, has been Chernobyl Diaries, story explained, done through the live stream, because this was the only way I could make this video possible. If I recorded it normally, I probably would have had it done in different parts. But I'm actually glad I did this in the live stream. So if you want to watch this, as I said, will be uploaded on YouTube, but it will be on the live stream section. Well, the live section for the video, if you want to watch that. So once again, before I end this, once again, thank you guys so much for all your support. Thank you guys for watching this stream or this video if you just came to only watch the video. And I want to know what your opinion is on Chernobyl Diaries. Like, if you've seen it, or if you haven't and you want to, let me know what you think of the movie in the comments below. And till then, I'm Dale, and I'm out. Have a great day, and a Happy New Year. Well, Happy late New Year, since this is my first 2024 video I made and stream. So, Happy New Year, Happy late New Year, guys. And I will see you when I see you. Have a good day, guys. Oh, and be safe.